Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. So we're going to talk about how to calculate the possible obtuse angle of a triangle, okay? So please make sure you watch my previous video, especially on sine rule and cosine rule, okay? So I've talked about it and I've already solved some questions on it as well. All right, so before I proceed, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you've not clicked the notification button, I don't know what you're waiting for. Please do so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first person to know. All right, so how do we find the possible obtuse angle? Now, the thing you need to keep in mind is if an unknown angle is opposite the longest sides, okay, two triangles may be possible. You can either have an acute angle or you can have an obtuse angle. So that means if, for instance, we have an unknown angle opposite a longer side. So if this is a triangle and you can have, because the longest side, for example, so this angle here, it's possible that it could be an acute angle, or you can write it in such a way it could be an what? An obtuse angle, all right? So it's possible that you could have it in two different ways. So, but I'm going to write it down because I know some of us do take notes from what I write here, okay? So let me write it clearer. So what I said is that if an unknown angle, okay, if an unknown angle is opposite the longest sides, okay, two triangles may be possible. Okay, so you could have an acute angle. So it's an acute angle, so where the angle is less than 90 degrees, okay? So where that angle is less than, all angles less than 90 degrees. Or you could also have an obtuse angle. So you could get an obtuse angle where the angle is greater than 90 degrees, but it is less than what? 180 degrees, okay? So what I'm saying is that, like I said earlier, if it's with the unknown side, the unknown side is the longest, so you can get something like this. Are you seeing it? So you can see this angle here, R, let's call it R1, okay? So we have P, Q, R, okay? You can see R1 is an acute angle. So R1 is less than what? 90 degrees. It's also possible that you can have this angle, but it's going to look something like this, and like this. So this is angle what? R2. So it's still the same P, Q, and R, but this time R2 is what? Obtuse. So provided the unknown angle is facing the longest side, then you should now have a rethink and say, oh, it is possible that this angle that I'm looking for could be an acute angle, or it could be what? An obtuse angle. Now, what also we can do, I can combine this both acute and obtuse together. So I can draw it like this, combined. So you have something like this. Okay, so this is R1 or the R2. Okay, then so the same P, Q, and R. So this could be R2. All right, then I can now draw another one like this, going all the way down here. Are you seeing it? So you can see another red one. same thing. But this time, the R, this is going to be what? R1. So this is combined, all right? So I'm drawing both the acute and the obtuse combined in one graph or one shape. So that means the two possible triangles you can have, so the two possible triangles is going to be PQR1, or you can have PQR2. Are you seeing it? So you can put this as R2 and you can put this as R1. So that means the two possible triangles you can get here the two possible triangles are, you can get PQR1 or you can get PQR2. Okay? You can get PQR1 or you can get PQR2. All right, so let's move on now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write some key points that you need to know here, all right, while solving this kind of questions. There are about 4 of them, so I'm going to write down the relationship. There's proof, there's things, but I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm going to just go straight to the main points you need to know. So the key points that I want you to know about this, okay? The key points I want you to know is that number 1, the relationship okay, between R1 and R2 okay? So that means there's a relationship between this R1 here, this angle R1, and this angle R2. Now, what's the relationship? The relationship is that R1 plus R2 is equal to what? 180 degrees. So R1 plus R2 is equal to 180. So that means when you solve and you get one of the angles, to get the other possible obtuse angle, for instance, if you had the acute angle, so it means that you subtract it from 180 to get the obtuse angle. Is that okay? Now, like I said in the other previous video, like I said that the sine rule. So if you've not watched my video on the sine rule, it's a very good time for you to go back and have a look. So I told you that the sine rule, okay, always give an acute angle. Number 3, now, and I also told you as well that the cosine rule gives the obtuse angle first. So the cosine rule gives an obtuse angle first. So it gives an obtuse angle first, if any of them, all right? So that was the reason why in the previous video, I always say if a triangle has an obtuse angle and you have a choice to use cosine rule or sine rule, I'll prefer you use a cosine rule so that you will see right from the get-go that there is an obtuse angle here. Is that making sense? So it's very, very important for you to take note of that. All right, so number 4, all right? So the first thing we've talked about that R1 and R2, the relationship is 180 degrees. The second thing we talked about that the sine rule always give an acute angle. The third thing we said was that the cosine rule will give you an obtuse angle first, and that's why if you have an option of using the sine or the cosine, use the cosine rule. So in case there is a obtuse angle for that. All right, so number 4 is that, like I said, is that if you have a choice of rules, you should use the cosine rule first, then to find the largest angle first. Then in this case, it will be the largest angle opposite the longest side. Is that making sense? Then when you've gotten that, then you can subtract it from 180 to get a possible acute angle. And also you can then use any other rule to solve, because every triangle is going to get only one obtuse angle. So when you've gotten the obtuse angle, you're free to what? Keep solving. All right, so I'm going to write it here. So if you have a choice, of rules, okay? Now, the reason why I'm saying choice of rules is that in some cases, you have no choice than to use the sine rule at first. But when you have an option to choose either the sine rule or the cosine rule, please do use the cosine rule first to see if there's a possible large angle or obtuse angle there, okay? So if you have a choice of rules, you should use the cosine rule. Okay, you should use the cosine rule to find the largest angle first. So it's good to find the largest angle first in case, all right, just in case it's obtuse. So that means just in case that angle is obtuse. So because, especially if the largest angle is facing the longest side, okay? So especially if the largest angle is the one opposite the longest side. Okay? Now, after that, you can now use whichever rule you prefer, since a triangle can only have one obtuse angle, okay? So after that, you can use whichever rule you want. Okay? Since a triangle can only have one obtuse angle. All right, so that is it. So those are the four key points that I want you to take note of, okay? So that relationship between R1 and R2 is 180. The sine will always give the acute angle. The cosine will give an obtuse angle. And if you have choice of rules, and please start with the cosine rule, okay? All right, let's pick an example now. Okay, so let's pick an example and let's see what we can do about that. So we have an example here. Okay, we have an example, and this example we have is that we're told that in a triangle, okay, in a triangle PQR, we're told that P is equal to 5 centimeter, okay? We're told that R is equal to 7.2 centimeter, and we're told that angle P is equal to 37 what? Degrees, okay? Now, we're now told to find the two possible values of angle R. So we're going to find the two. So we're going to find the two possible values of angle R. Okay, so now in this question, now you can see that we're from straight off the bat, we're being told that angle R is going to have two possible values. So that means it's possible that it's going to be an acute angle or an obtuse angle. Then after that, we're now told to then find the corresponding values of angle Q. Okay. And we're told here that we need to give the answer to the nearest degrees. So correct to the nearest degree. Okay, so let's go now. Let's try this. So we are having a triangle PQR, okay? And we're told P was 7.2 centimeter. P was 5 centimeter, R was 7.2, and angle P was 37. So let's draw this now, okay? So that means, and we're told that angle R has two possible values. So similar to what we talked about. So we're gonna have this one. Okay. So this is gonna be angle P, okay, Q, and R. But R has two possible. So we're gonna call this R1. Okay. Then we'll draw the other one. So it's possible that it could be, so for this one, this is going to be angle Q. It's going to be in black. Are you seeing it? This is Q. This is going to be R1. And this is going to be angle what? P. Angle P was 37 what? Degrees. All right. Now, but also told that it's also possible that angle R has two possible values. So that means you could have another triangle. So remember, like we did in the combination. So it could be something like this. Are you seeing it? So something exactly like this. But this time, this is angle Q here. Are you seeing it? This is angle Q. All right. So this is angle Q here. Then this is angle R. Well, let's call this R2. And that is the angle here, R2. Is this making sense? So these are the possible triangles you have here. So what I can do is that I can separate both of this R using apostrophe. So this, I'll call this R2, while I'm going to call this R1. Okay. So from this now, we can see that the R2 is going to be the acute one. So we're going to know that R2 is going to be, this is the acute, while the R1 is going to be the what? The obtuse. So one of them is the acute and one of them is going to be the obtuse. So let's say R1. So you know that the graph here is not drawn to scale. So we can now say R1 is the obtuse and R2 is the acute. So we can now look at this graph in different ways. So that means the possible triangles here. So the possible triangles we have, okay, it could be the black one here, which was PQR1, or it could be the red one, which is going to be PQR2. Okay, so what we're going to do is that, remember, I always tell you, we then have to label here. So, but we're told that PQ, the length of PQ was given, and it was PQ was that was put R. So if you look at it, so remember I told you the side R here, okay, is the side facing the angle R. So this is the side facing the angle R, and that's going to give us 7.2, okay? So let me use a purple pen to show that it's for both of them. So this is 7.2. So that's equal to PQ, the angle R. So that means if you're looking at both triangles, we have two triangles that I combined here, okay? So if you want to, if that is confusing you, you can separate them as well. So like for this, you can separate it to look like this, okay? So you have P, Q, R1. This is 7.2, and this is 37, okay? Or you can now put this other one here. You can now have something like this. So it's going to be P, Q, R2. Are you seeing it? The same thing, 7.2, and this is 37, okay? So you can use any of them that you wish to use. Good. Now, so let's see what we can do. So are we, so P is 5 centimeters. So we're told P is 5 centimeters. So we need to now also put that. So P is going to be the side, okay, facing angle P. So 5 centimeters. So we can now do that as well. So that means for the black one, this is going to be 5. This is going to be 5. And for the red one, this is gonna be what? 5, and this is going to be what? 5. Good. I think we have all the information we need now to solve. Now, what do you do? Now, the first thing first is that we can't use cosine rule here because we don't have all the parameters needed to do cosine rule, but we can do sine rule. All right. So I'm going to start with the PQRR. We're going to start with triangle PQR2 prime. Okay, we're going to start with that. So we're going to start with the red one. So we can now say sine R divided by R will be equal to sine P divided by P. Are you seeing it? So, but we are looking for R2. So we're going to be looking for this. So that means what I'm saying is that this is the triangle we're looking at. Okay. So we have R here, we have P, and we have Q. Here is 7.2, which is going to be equal to the small RR. Are you seeing it? And we're looking for this angle here. Then P, we'll have it to be 37 degrees. And this side, P was what? 5. Okay? So that's what we are doing. So, but we are looking for R. So what you need to do is to make R double prime the subject of the formula. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cross multiply here. So it's going to be P multiplied by sine R prime prime will be equal to R prime prime multiplied by sine P. Then we divide both sides by what? P. Are you seeing it? Then when you divide both sides by P, this is going to cancel that. Then you're going to have sine R prime prime will be equal to R prime prime sine P divided by P. But we are not looking for sine R prime prime. We're looking for R prime prime, the angle itself. So the R prime prime is going to be equal to the sine inverse of R prime prime sine P divided by what? P. Okay? So then we can now put it in. So that means from this, what we just said, we said the angle P is equal to 37 degrees, while the side P was 5. The R prime prime is what we're looking for, but the R prime prime, the side was 7.2. Okay? So we can now put this into this formula. So that was going to give us 7.2 So that was going to give us will be equal to the sine inverse of the I prime prime is 7.2 multiplied by sine P is going to be 37 divided by the side P is going to give us what? 5. And when you press this in your calculator, the R prime prime is going to be equal to what? 60 degrees. So we found the R prime prime, okay? So now we can find the R prime now, okay? We can find the R prime, which is the black one. Now, to get the R prime, so remember I told you to get the R prime, I told you in the previous slide that the relationship between R1 and R2 is R1 plus R2 is equal to 180 degrees. Are you seeing it? I told you that R1 plus R2 is equal to 180 degrees. So therefore, we can now get this one now. We can now get R1 from this. So to get R1, so R1, to get R1 now, we know that R1 plus R prime prime is equal to 180 degrees. So to get R, take this to the other side. So R prime is going to be equal to 180 minus R prime prime. And that will give us 180 minus 60. Okay, 180 minus 60. So therefore, the R1 will be equal to what? 120 degrees. Okay, so therefore we can now say that the angle here is going to be 120 degrees, while the angle here is what? 60 what? 60 degrees. So we can now put this as well. So R2 here is 60 degrees, while the angle here is what? 120 degrees. Okay, let me just take one more example for this. All right, then we'll call it a day for that. So number 2, we're told to calculate the obtuse angle of X. Okay, so we had this, and we had this. Okay, and we were told that this was X, and this is 17.3, and this was 23. Okay, this was angle A, this was angle B, this was angle C, and this side here was 8.5. Okay, and this was C. Okay, so we're told to find the obtuse. So you can see they wanted the obtuse in this case. So we can see from here that angle A was what? 23 degrees, but side A was equal to 8.5. So the side facing the angle, right? So that's the side. Now B, we're told B was X degrees, but the side facing it was 17.3. And C, angle C, we're not given that, okay? And the side facing it as well, we're not given that as well. Same thing here. You can see we cannot use cosine rule here, all right? But sine rule will give us the acute angle. So we can only use the sine rule here. So please, if you missed my video on how to use sine rule, it is very important that you go and have a look on how to use sine rule. So from here, we can now say the sine rule is sine A divided by A is equal to sine B divided by B, and it's equal to sine C divided by C, all right? So it's going to be sine 23 divided by 8.5. So you can see we had to use sine rule because we have a complete pair here. equal to sine x divided by 17.3 and equal to sine c over c. So in order to solve this, we then have to use this pair to solve. So let's do this. So we're going to have sine 23 divided by 8.5 is equal to sine x divided by 17.3. All right. So we want to make sine x the subject of the formula. So you cross multiply. So it's going to give you 17.3 times sine 23 is equal to 8.5 times sine x. Okay. To make sine x to be on its own, so you're going to divide both sides by 8.5. Right. Then when you divide it by 8.5, so this is going to cancel that. So we're going to have sine x will be equal to 17.3 times sine 23 divided by what? 8.5. But we're not looking for sine x, we're looking for x. So x is going to be equal to the sine inverse of 17.3 times sine 23 divided by 8.5. And when you press this in your calculator, x is going to give you 52.7 degrees. So remember, I told you that sine is going to give you only the acute angle, all right? So, but the question wanted us to solve what? The obtuse. Wanted us to calculate the obtuse angle. So, but remember, I told you that R1 plus R2 must be equal to what? 180 degrees. So the acute angle plus the obtuse angle must give you 180 degrees. So therefore, to get the obtuse angle, so the obtuse angle therefore is going to be equal to 180 minus 52.7 degrees. And that is going to give you 127.3 what? Degrees. And that will be the obtuse angle for that. All right. And that will bring me to the end of this video for this on how to find the obtuse angle for a particular angle in the triangle. All right, thank you very much. If you have any question, please let me know, or you can send me an email, or you can drop it in the comment section. And don't forget to click the notification bell so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first person to know. All right, so I'll see you soon in the next video.